Your host, Esha, and today we have a very special guest, Paul Knox, who is a union man. And I'm just wondering, how are you guys feeling today? Are you guys feeling like you've been lifted out of poverty? Because of your $1,400 COVID checks? Well, if you feel yeah yeah, for some odd reason Joe Biden seems to think that it's they're being lifted out of poverty, and I've seen all these New York Times articles that basically say essentially that Joe Biden is lifting everyone out of poverty, and it's ridiculous propaganda. And he's basically, it's ridiculous propaganda. But today, we will be reading two really good pieces from Lenin. This one, the first one, is called Capitalism and the Parliament. And we will kind of understand what's going on. So without further ado,
Just sharing screen. Play it in 1 second.
Today we have a very special guest. We have Paul Knox from Philadelphia. He's a blue-collar worker, a union man, and a Teamster. And honestly, like, we don't usually get people like him to give us our perspective. Like, you're not invited on MSNBC or anything.
Oh, no, we are not.
So since you've been around for a while, like, how it seems like the unions have gotten weaker since like what do you think about like what's going on?
Well, what I think, and this is just from a layman's perspective, I think what happened was we got complacent. We got the sense that we had gone out of the age where you would see pictures of child labor, you'd see coal miners with dirty faces, you'd see smokestacks, you'd see the Pinkertons and the violence of the early labor movement. And I think we got into a more of a modern age, and we allowed ourselves to get complacent and think that somehow we're beyond all that. We're enlightened. We've learned our lesson, and we don't need unions like we used to. And what happened was I saw about 5 years where we didn't lose anything. Yeah. But after about...
You want me to start it from the beginning? Okay.
Today we have a very special guest.
Okay, just tell me when.
Today we have a very special guest. We have Paul Knox from Philadelphia. He's a blue-collar worker, a union man, and a Teamster. And honestly, like, we don't usually get people like him to give us our perspective. Like, you're not invited on MSNBC or anything.
Oh, no, we are not.
So since you've been around for a while, like, how it seems like the unions have gotten weaker since like what do you think about like what's going on?
Well, what I think, and this is just from a layman's perspective, I think what happened was we got complacent. We got the sense that we had gone out of the age where you would see pictures of child labor, you'd see coal miners with dirty faces, you'd see smokestacks, you'd see the Pinkertons and the violence of the early labor movement. And I think we got into a more of a modern age, and we allowed ourselves to get complacent and think that somehow we're beyond all that. We're enlightened. We've learned our lesson, and we don't need unions like we used to. And what happened was I saw about 5 years where the union movement was weakening, where we didn't lose anything. But after about 5 years, management, the employers, the ruling class, whatever you want to call them, they said, holy fuck, we broke this fucking movement. We can start doing whatever the fuck we want. And that's what they did. They started clawing back. They started taking away. No more pensions, no more overtime protections, cutting back, having you do 2 jobs instead, downsizing, and all of a sudden you're doing 2 people's jobs instead of 1. And all those gains we gave back. And of course, we had the Democrats who are nominally the Labor Party shift to be in the party of finance and Wall Street and Silicon Valley. And sure, they didn't take away union rights, but they were less than enthusiastic about embracing the workers. Now let's fast forward even further. Is you now have today, you have Donald Trump, clearly not a pro-labor guy, clearly a guy that's never done a goddamn thing for workers his entire life. Stiff workers. When they tried to have a union at his hotel in Las Vegas, he wouldn't even talk to the people.
Wow.
But he knew one thing. He sort of had that regular guy comportment. He looked uncomfortable in a suit. He was brash and coarse, and he had that I don't give a fuck attitude, would say anything. So workers, he felt like they were seen by him. He felt like they got him.
Okay.
Or they felt like he got them, if that makes sense. Whereas the Democrats may very well be more supportive of union rights, but they're talking down their fucking noses at you. They're looking down at you. That's my perspective.
No, I agree with you. Like they are, for me, I always find the liberal smugness really something that drives me nuts, because liberals just assume that everyone who disagrees with them is stupid, as opposed to, hey, maybe I'm not thinking of something that they are. So it's like I've seen this happen thousands of times on Twitter, where it's like the far left and the far right are both saying I'm wrong, therefore horseshoe, as opposed to, what if they are thinking about something I'm not thinking of? And that's exactly the attitude I get from a lot of the Democrats, is that they, just because they have fancy education does not mean that they've actually thought about the issues. You know what I mean?
They, the perfect example I can give, and this is your show, of course, not mine. The perfect example I can give is how much they love that empty suit, Pete Buttigieg. He's an amoral climber. He's a guy that's ambitious to a fault. He has pedigree. He speaks all these languages. He's smooth. He's gay, so the liberals can think, hey, look how tolerant we are. But he has the morals of a fucking alley cat. But they look at Bernie Sanders, and he's gruff, and he's common, and he's rough around the edges, and he's a moral, ethical man of great integrity. But the liberals can't fucking stand it. They want Cary Grant. They want because their lives are pretty good and they're pretty comfortable. They don't give a shit that Pete Buttigieg and Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi and all these fucking people won't do a goddamn thing to make people's lives better. They care that they have a certain aesthetic that they prefer. And that's where we are in America.
You're absolutely right. I can't honestly, you took it. For me, the one thing that really hit that home was Pete Buttigieg was talking about bringing jobs to South Bend. And then I looked up the Studebakers were like a car company that was pretty decent with their worker rights. And and then I looked up, Studebaker cars hired like 30,000 people. And then Pete Buttigieg's like technicians should have had like 500, like it wasn't even close to each other. Like it was, and then I'm like, oh, wow. Like it hit me that he wasn't really bringing any jobs back, because before it used to be like 30,000 versus 500. And that's kind of what, like they seem to act like they're powerless. In Germany, when they shut down a factory, guess what? They have to pay 5 years worth of wages. And in other countries, you can't just like shut down a factory because they unionize. Here, I've seen them do it twice at least in the past few years, like one in.
Right, you can negotiate, which frankly, we didn't do that well in the contract. We're trying to get approved now. But you can negotiate the conditions. If they do have a closing, you can negotiate settlement conditions that you'll get healthcare, that you'll get a severance package. Yes, you can. The unions can absolutely positively negotiate the best possible separation package you can get. You have a voice in something like that.
That's and most people don't know this, and so for me, I find it like it's amazing that a lot of people just don't know what the unions have done. And for me, like one of my favorite songs is the Red Flag song that says, "The people's flag is the deepest red because it's martyred from the," people's flag is it's an Irish song, Janet, you should know. People's flag is from the martyred dead. Yeah, it's deepest red because a lot of people gave up their lives for their unions. And
oh yeah. Well, like I said, this is your show, Esha. But in terms of the unions, I saw it. We just, like I said, we got complacent. And here's the thing. The ruling class, the capital class, they're not new at this. They've been trying to turn back the New Deal with the long game strategy for 100 fucking years. They don't necessarily try to get it all at once. They peck away. So you turn around, Reagan comes in to put the death blow to unions, but the whole time the unions have been losing little things here and there. And next thing you know, they're weakened beyond the point that they're much of a political factor anymore. And when the Democrats talk about, well, we have to be pragmatic or we have to be incremental, first of all, what they're really saying is, I support class warfare. But the other thing they're saying is they don't understand exactly the difference between how the right goes about what they want to accomplish and how we need to seize the moment when it's there to make bold moves, to make lasting moves that we got to pin the fucking right back on their heels for the next 100 years trying to get rid of. They're gonna put in shit right now. And when Republicans come back in 2022 and 24, instead of them having to dig their heels in and get rid of $15 minimum wage or get rid of some great healthcare thing, they're going to blow it over with a feather, and they're going to pick up their agenda like it never ended. The Democrats just are keeping their seats warm. That's it, because they won't get something done when they have the power. Does that make sense?
Yes, you mentioned this perfectly. Exactly. Like Obamacare, it took like 30 seconds to unravel. And the New Deal, it took 70 years at least or longer.
Hello? Because Obamacare was crap and the New Deal was great and valuable and provided for people. I support Obamacare. I was a guy that I always wanted single payer, don't get me wrong, but I was stupid and naive enough to think, well, look, this Obama, and this is what they do, Esha. This is what they do. Obamacare had some key protections in there. They had letting kids be under till 26. They had the no lifetime cap. They had the no pre-existing conditions. They set it up so that they had some favorable things in there. And if you didn't support it, you were told, because those things are important. There were some key provisions that address some needs that need to be addressed. They're clever that way. But what I thought was a logical stepping stone to a single payer Medicare for all system wasn't that at all. It was designed by the healthcare lobby to firmly entrench for-profit healthcare. It wasn't what I thought it was. It was to make sure that their business model was even more set in stone. That's
Yes.
what it was about.
And yeah, last week I didn't even know this until somebody told me, but Cobra, like basically the entire stimulus program is giving like 30 million or something to Cobra payments, which is just $2,000 a month for insurance companies, right?
More than that, I believe, but yes, point taken.
Yeah, so I'm like, well, why would you do that? Like, and it's because, well, this actually segues into the first Lenin piece that we're going to read very well. It's called Capitalism and the Parliament. So I take it you've never, like, each week we try to bring somebody who hasn't read Lenin, and we want you to guys to read Lenin, because basically everything that we've been through, he's been through and written about it. And it's funny, like, how sometimes it's creepy that I only have to change one word to make Lenin relevant for today. So if you will do us the honor, I just sent it to you via chat.
Sorry.
No, of course, we need reading glasses.
All right, how do I get to the chat? Oh, I see something up here.
Yeah.
Chat one. Okay, you want me to read that?
Yeah, just click on it and start reading. And this one will not, it's about what's wrong with every bourgeoisie parliament.
Get rid of my porn. Sorry. Hey, it's lonely in COVID. What can I tell you? Don't let me step on your toes, because
no. We want you to keep talking, because there's so much to learn. Like,
I got on Twitter because I needed a sounding board. I needed an outlet. But part of the reason I got on Twitter was that I was hoping it would help me be learn how to be a little more condensed and disciplined with my messaging. Because I can go, man.
You're good. No. We need, like, in Indian culture, we're always taught that people like who've had experience, like you're supposed to listen to your elders because they have a lot of wisdom, and it's always true. But here in America, they just don't understand that there's some things you can't learn without experience. Like I interviewed Jarvis Tyler. He's I think he's about your age, maybe. He was
58.
like, oh, okay. He's a little older than you. He was also in a union in Philadelphia. And he was like talking about how so back in the day, apparently Philadelphia had this like police officer, Rizzo or something, who was basically there to like scab unions.
I'm not familiar with that, but
yeah, so the police would, like, when they struck, like, they apparently the police were there to be scabs, basically intimidate union people. But yeah, so it's kind of, so I was so impressed about all the like little things that they did. So they actually integrated, like, you don't expect this, but the union was the first one to have like an integrated dance, because they just like invited everyone in the union regardless. Go ahead.
Well, no, the only reason I did that was because I have a tendency to, it comes and it goes before I forget. Right, the whole point of, I already forgot what I was gonna say.
Unions in Philadelphia.
One of the things I've tried to point out about Medicare for All, and I've said this in our union meetings, and they think I'm fucking nuts, and I don't really care, but because they're conservative. These guys that I'm in a union group with, most of them are conservative. Most of these guys wanted Trump. I had to say, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I mean, I understand you don't like Hillary. I'm talking about 2016. I know you don't like Hillary. I get it. She sucked. But you guys are in unions. You guys have had a pretty good life and make pretty good wages. You're sitting on a fucking union board with me, and now you're telling me you want to vote for the president of the fucking union busting right to work party. What the fuck is wrong with you guys? That they don't like me. They like me, but they don't like me. But at any rate, what I tried to tell these guys was, forget trying to protect these healthcare plans that because you've had a union, you're able to get a better healthcare plan than most. First of all, that's taking more and more money out of your pocket every year. The plans are getting weaker and weaker. And it's also keeps you from bargaining for better things that you need. That healthcare is a big, giant 800-pound gorilla on the table. Get rid of it. So they sort of understood that. But I also said, this is where they looked at me like I was nuts. I said, unions have not just done work that benefits union workers. They've done things, worker protections and rights that benefit all workers. Voting rights. They've been on the forefront of social movements. Medicare for all is a social movement. And you need, as a union for future viability, to say, you know what? That Medicare for all you have, we were there fighting for it. We were leading the charge on that.
Oh yeah.
And there's plenty of things besides healthcare that we need to fight about in workplaces. You get people Medicare for all, trust me, exploitation of workers doesn't magically disappear. There still need unions. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. And actually, it's kind of funny. Lenin actually talks about what you talk about again, like that unions shouldn't just
Smart guy.
Yeah. Oh, he's very smart.
I'm kidding.
No, I'm saying like he calls it economism, where you're like, if the unions are just focused on like narrow things, like just the economics, he thinks that unions should have like knit together everybody's like struggle together, because like that's what and so he thinks that makes this union stronger too. And I agree with you, like that's why they should be on the forefront of Medicare for all or every or the anti-war struggle, because ultimately it hits them back. Like no one's going, like it's our sons and daughters going to war. It's not going to be the CEO's sons. So I agree with you on that, like on unions being like wide focused as opposed to narrow focused.
Yes, ma'am. Now, do you want me to read?
Sure, let's go ahead. This
Sorry.
is going to be fun. Okay.
I hate listening to my own damn voice, as much as I like talking. Okay, I'm going to read. I'm going to read this whole thing.
Yes, and there's not much to actually.
Okay, I'm going to try.
Go ahead.
Okay. V.I. Lenin, Capitalism and Parliament.
Yep.
Parliament. Parliamentarian.
Exactly. Parliament. He's making fun of that. Okay. So we
don't let me get sidetracked. All right.
No. Good. We love.
Let me start. The facts of democracy must not make us lose sight of a circumstance often overlooked by bourgeoisie Democrats, that in the capitalist countries, representative institutions inevitably give rise to specific forms in which capital exercises its influence on the state power. Absolutely. We have no parliament, but then there is no end of parliamentary cretinism among the liberals and of parliamentary license among all the bourgeoisie deputies.
Like congressional representative deputies, that's what they call their reps, deputies. So.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Should I continue?
Yes.
Okay. The workers must thoroughly master this truth if they want to learn how to use representative institutions for promoting the political consciousness, unity, activity, and efficiency of the working class. All the social forces hostile to the proletariat, the bureaucrats, landowners, and capitalists, are already using these representative institutions against the workers. One has to know how they are doing this if one wants to learn to uphold the independent interests of the working class and its independent development.
I mean, this is like the truth. I mean, we even have lobbyists to do that, to work against
this. I'm just reading.
Go ahead.
The Third Duma decided to award bonuses to home manufacturers of machinery. Who are these born manufacturers? the ones operating in Russia. But upon examination, I don't think I emphasized that properly, but upon examination, we find that they are foreign capitalists who have transferred their plants to Russia. Tariff rates are high and profits immense. So foreign capital is moving into Russia. For instance, an American trust, a corporation of capitalist millionaires, has built a huge farm machinery works in Lyubertsy, probably not pronounced right, near Moscow. In Kharkov, farm machines are made by the capitalist Melhoz, and in Berdyansk, Berdyansk by the capitalist John Greaves. These manufacturers are very much of the truly Russian, let's repeat that. These manufacturers are very much of the truly Russian home variety, aren't they? Meaning clearly they are not. Gotcha.
Yeah, they do that in America too, with all the American companies that get yeah, you've seen it. Okay, go ahead.
But of course, unless they were helped in every way by Russian capitalists, they would have been unable to operate in Russia at all. Nothing changes. One good turn deserves another. American, British, and German capitalists rake in profits with the help of Russian capitalists, who get quite a big share. Take, for example, the Lenin gold fields or the mining enterprises in the Urals. How many millions foreign and Russian capitalists have shared between them there? So basically, you're saying the capitalists come in and a group of native capitalists help foreign capitalists steal the wealth from under the nation and the people.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's literally what all the mines in West Virginia, literally every place. I don't know where this is not applicable. Go ahead.
So it has applications to modern. I got you. Okay. The Duma is very useful to the industrialists in the
Congress. So the only thing I would change is, and you don't change when reading, but for people, just change Duma to Congress and everything here applies.
But the Duma is the legislative body. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. The Duma is very useful to the industrialists in this respect. Both in the Duma and the Council of State, the capitalists have a goodly number of representatives. The landlords, too, who would not amount to much nowadays without capital. For both the capitalists and the landlords, the Duma is a ready-made machinery for passing law on bonuses to be awarded to themselves. My God, nothing changes at all, does it?
Yeah, it gets funny.
Protective tariffs, for example, another form of bonuses to themselves, concessions, a third form of bonus to themselves, and so on without limit. Can I ask you a question, Esha?
Yeah.
Whenever they push austerity, right?
Yeah.
Which they like to do, which is coming down the pike, I am certain it always does. They always talk about the tough choices and the hard sacrifices, and they're heartbroken and they're so sincere, and it pains them to have to say this. But every fucking time they do this, they're excluded from any sacrifices or any repercussions of their actions. Yes. Every time. Every single fucking time.
The thing about it is that you don't have a right to profit from a factory. There's no reason why they can't nationalize them. It's no, we're not cutting wages, we're cutting your profits. That'll never happen in America as we know it, but that's always the option, but they always choose to cut wages over cutting profits.
Okay. Am I done reading?
Go ahead.
I got some more. Okay. The next is The Skeptic, a liberal writing in the liberal REC, R-E-C-H, had some very apt comments to make on this matter. He writes with so much feeling against the nationalists who awarded themselves bonuses to stimulate the home manufacture of machinery by Messrs. Greaves, Melrose, Elworthy, and other companies that I too have become somewhat infected with skepticism. The enunciation's off. Yes, the liberal skeptic has not made a bad job of exposing the nationalists.
Hold on. This is funny because this is okay. So the cadets are it stands for Constitutional Democratic Party. The nationalists and the progressives are the Republicans. So he's right. Yes, the liberal skeptic has not made a bad job of exposing the right wing, but go on.
Okay. Okay, I think that's where I am. Yes, the liberal skeptic has not made a bad job of exposing the nationalists, but why does he say nothing about the cadets? When Golovin, for instance, was seeking a concession, did not position as a member of the Duma and former chairman of the Duma stand him in good stead in that useful and lucrative pursuit. Again.
Pelosi, chairman of the...
Well, in a nutshell, what I learned about capitalism, not to go off on my typical tangent, was that everybody says capitalism is about free markets and opportunity and innovation and the human spirit, all this horse shit they talk about. But what it really amounts to is amassing wealth, then amassing power, then using that power to take over government, so that if anything, you want to eliminate competition. You want to eliminate free markets. You want monopolies. You want it all. That's the ultimate goal. And that's what we see happening.
Absolutely. And just so you know, you are basically paraphrasing Lenin's imperialism, the highest stage of capitalism.
Yeah, I never read it today. How about that? Maybe
Well, exactly. But it shows you that it's good to, like, the idea is that if you can logic it yourself, it means you have real life like data that you've put in, right? So it just shows you that Lenin's right again. Okay, go ahead. This is exactly like monopolies and exclusions. That's a great way to put it. Go ahead.
I got off on this tangent. Okay. We're in the right spot.
When Makalov.
Thank you. When Makalov was gobbling up his Tigayev fees,
mining.
Go ahead. What's the
no, I just was explaining that it was his like mining concession fees, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, some of this is written where it's not, it's kind of awkwardly worded so that it doesn't flow, but that's probably me.
It's a bad translation. I mean,
did not his position as member of the Duma make it easier for him to get such profitable cases? What about the numerous other cadet landlords, merchants, capitalists, financiers, lawyers, and brokers who extended their businesses, promoted their connections, and put them through affairs back to their position as members of the Duma and to the benefits and advantages that position affords? Yeah. What if an inquiry were made in the financial transaction carried out by Duma members or with the aid of Duma members?
We need one.
Okay. But no, in all capitalist countries, measures have been taken to protect trade secrets and to guarantee that not a single parliament should permit such an inquiry. Yeah, it's true. It's true. You want me to read some more?
Go ahead.
I got like 2 paragraphs.
Yep.
Okay. However, the working class deputies undoubtedly know a great deal about this matter. And if they took pains to look around, obtain additional information, collect material, look up newspaper files, inquire at the stock exchange, etc., they could themselves carry out a very instructive and useful inquiry into the business transactions carried out by Duma members or with the aid of such members. In other words, they could absolutely positively investigate this stuff.
Yes,
if there was political will to do it.
AOC, for example, Ilhan, what are you guys doing? Oh, go ahead.
No, it's your show.
No. But I was done. Let's finish this before we discuss.
Okay, we have one more small one.
Yeah.
In European parliaments, such transactions are well known, and the workers constantly expose them, naming the persons involved so as to enlighten the people.
Exactly.
So that's the end of that read.
Yeah. So, what do you? For me, I like. It's absolutely. There's nothing false about it. How much is our congressional, like, is there a net worth calculator or something of our congressional members?
Well, they're all, I think, very few are not millionaires.
Okay, yeah. I know that Pelosi's like worth 100 million and her husband.
I hear different stat, but she is worth scores of millions of dollars.
Exactly.
By the most conservative estimate.
And you don't get those.
Can you imagine that person? Can you literally imagine that person being the head of the House of Commons, which is effectively what the House of Representatives is? It's the lower house. It's the people's fucking house. It's not the House of Lords. And she's literally a capitalist bulwark, stifling any opportunity to overcome the capitalist excess that we have to live through. And I don't know what Lenin said about the resistance, but I know he mentioned the resistance. I just don't know what he called it. But the resistance are nothing but sycophants and enablers of this. They are part of the contented class, and where they should be pressuring the representatives to do more and to serve the public. They do nothing but make excuses for them for their failure to do so. And it's the weirdest thing, but I suspect there's probably a certain class that's always done that.
Liberals. Lenin calls them liberals.
Well, he was right.
Yeah. He says the liberals always like he says liberals are afraid of the people and want to deal with the autocracy, which is like the capitalists or whatever.
Right.
And so they're always trying to like use the people to like get a better deal with. They'll never go far enough to push away the capitalist class, is what he. And I agree. Liberals are always trying to compromise because of that.
The whole philosophy of the Democratic Party, since especially Bill Clinton, and Bill Clinton, who achieved significant, massive milestones Reagan could only fucking dream of. The whole philosophy of them has been to give you just enough so you won't revolt. Just enough. They calibrate it perfectly. They give you. It's like your boss. He pays you. He doesn't pay you enough, but he pays you enough to keep you there, but not enough to leave. And that's the Democrats. You never get anything satisfactory. It's always perpetual insecurity and suboptimal. And that's how they operate. Republicans are just god awful, which they are. So that's a lower standard for them anyway to be. But their way of handling that situation is to give you just enough. And then of course throw in their ID cultural bullshit that they use. Yeah.
Somebody actually asked me about that, and the cultural wars half the time is just like total BS. Like the Democrats, for example, like I mean, they really don't really care ultimately. Like, you know, that it's used as a shield to show that they're better than Republicans, and it's a game that I call it a tango. It's not even a game; it's a tango in that you need both of them to dance their parts in order to keep it going. It's not even opposition, in my opinion.
Oh no, it's not. It's two pro-capital parties, and they decided that they were going to just disagree over the culture wars. I've had my blue collar. I know what news they watch. When I talk to them, you don't have to fucking tell me. I know what news they watch. The big thing now is they're letting the immigrants come through. The floodgates are open. Gas prices are high, and we're gonna have Dr. Seuss's fucking band. They get sidetracked on these bullshit issues.
Yes,
because they know that it'll keep them from really seeing what's going on and really coming after them for what they do. For if they can get me thinking about Dr. fucking Seuss. They won. And another thing is and this comes about the transgender bathroom thing. Oh, they're gonna have guys in the ladies' room. And I said, first of all, dude, these people just want to go to the bathroom. They're not in there stalking little girls. They have no agenda. They're just trying to use the bathroom, and they're trying to follow their trying to follow their identity, their gender identity as it's legitimate to them and as it genuinely is. But I tried to say, dude, this is such a nothing issue. This is so insignificant. There's not a rash of men dressed as women bursting in the ladies' room coast to coast. It doesn't happen. But they allow themselves to be bamboozled by corporate media on meaningless things.
Exactly.
So long as they're complacent in their own destruction.
Well, the funny thing is that those people have never been into a girl's bathroom, because in girls' bathroom, like, you just have stalls that are closed. So
I don't want to be in a girl's bathroom.
No. I'm just saying, like, even if a guy were to come into a girl's bathroom, there's nothing he can see because we have closed stalls.
Right.
Like, we don't care.
It's just not an issue. But people they can't. I mean, we have it at work with the union, when they were trying to desert our union, because they always do. Every time the contract runs out, they fucking try to get a petition to get rid of the union. And I have so many of my employees say, the company just wants to sit down with us and let us know what they can do without the union. They give some. I said, dude, this is really simple. I'm not going to tell you the union solves everything. I'm not going to tell you that we are perfect. I'm not going to tell you that we can't do a better job. All that. I said, but if you literally think the boss, the management, the corporate headquarters wants to get rid of the union so they can fucking throw money and good things at you, what the fuck is wrong with you? What, are you out of your fucking mind? And they all think I'm nuts because I just like, what the fuck, dude? How can you even think that?
Their charter says to
Yeah, the company wants
maximize
to, they want to
profit
get
for
that
shareholders.
union out of the way so they can give us all this great stuff. Get the fuck out of here. What are you, nuts?
No.
Anyway, sorry.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, because I mean, for me, like I always tell people to remember history. And the first time the unions came, they came with the guns and the Pinkertons and just mowed down workers in every country. Yeah.
But the point being, actually, I have a high expectation of anything but the most fundamental, critical reason. Hey, the company wants the union out. Why? So they can give you all this great stuff. Right away, you're going to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
But you can't believe how many people I got to talk to. No, that's not what it is. It's not how it works. Come on, man.
Yeah, to me, it's just
You'd be
ridiculous.
amazed how they fall for it.
Yeah, for me, it's like there's so much ridiculousness. Like if you've like seen like a New York Times headline about unions, teachers striking, they're like, oh, teachers are leaving all these like kids hungry. And it's like, come on, there's so much anti-union propaganda with every newspaper that you don't even like. People, I often believe they just like eat it up without even realizing there's like, and then you're like, no, because of the reason why they demonize the unions in the newspaper is because the unions have literally saved lives. I mean, there's a reason why your hands don't get stuck in the machinery. I mean, technically, like in the past they did, and now they don't.
What our head steward, the observation our head steward made, and you ought to have him on this because
I want to.
He is a dogged union supporter. He is a motherfucker in the right way. But what he said about the teachers, let's say 20 years. The whole point of working in the public sector was you may not get rich, but you'd have decent benefits, decent health care, a sense of security. Yeah, you didn't get the sexier, higher pay of people in the private sector, but you were okay with that. You traded it all for doing a job that was valuable, that served the public function, and that you could have a decent, reasonable life, living with. Well, what happened was the private sector, as they do, and because unions continued to weaken, they started taking. You're paying more for healthcare. You're paying a copay. You're paying a deductible. Oh, pensions? See you later. We got this thing called a 401k. You're in charge of that. You can make the choices. Bullshit. It was nothing but a giant transfer of wealth and a vehicle for fucking hedge fund managers and money market managers to fucking extract fees from you constantly. That's what that was all about. And also the employer could contribute or not contribute. And the employer could also say, it was a tough year this year. You ain't getting jack shit. Whereas a pension, they had the fund. But we got sold a bill of goods. But anyway, here's my point. Go another 10 years or whatever it may be, and you look around and teachers have good health care. Teachers have decent benefits. Teachers have some protections. And instead of regular workers saying, what the fuck, private sector? We want that. We should have that too. Oh, no. That's not how it worked at all. They were able to turn people on the teachers. They were able to get people, hey, why do they fucking get that? And I don't get it. Get them. That's what they did. They pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, also they like for me. I remember like a few years ago there was a big teacher strike, and so I share no love for this person. She's I hope you don't mind. Randy Weingarten. She is she like collaborated with Bloomberg to basically help with charter schools, and so it's like you see that like basically the union. Oh, by the way, speaking of unions, Janet, this is really funny because Meghan Markle, let's play this clip just
Yeah, we saw that. That was great.
There's so many people who are afraid to voice that they need help. And I know personally how hard it is to not just voice it, but when you voice it, to be told no. Oof. And so I went to human resources and I said, I need help, because in my old job, there was a union and they would protect me. And I remember this conversation like it was yesterday, because they said, my heart goes out to you because I see how bad it is, but there's nothing we can do to protect you because you're not a paid employee of the institution.
Basically what she said, she said that in my last job, I had a union to protect me. And she basically said, yeah, the Screen Actors Guild, like that actually protected her better than the entire royal family. And yeah, I mean, it protected her from bad press, like who are dishonest, who like, and exactly. So it just shows you like how valuable unions can be. Like they can be your voice and your protection.
I can tell you about my experience we had an Atlantic City convention, and I went down to it, and it was a Graphics Communication Council of the Teamster. Now let me say this straight up. These guys were all sort of like executives of the union or different leaders of their local unions. These guys are committed to the union cause. They're good people. They're not monsters. But what happens is when they get to a certain level, they tend to get aligned with orthodox democratic politics. So to them, it's Joe Biden, you and I, and Pete Buttigieg, and all, we know that they're not the strongest union supporters, but to them, they have relationship with their staff. They have relationship with the Washington bureaucracy. They can make a phone call and get something done. So they feel comfortable with these people. They work for the union, and then they might work for a congressman on their staff. So there's this ecosystem that they're a part of that they protect almost reflexively. So I want to say that they're not monsters, but there is a lot of truth to the fact that sometimes they lose their priorities. They lose sight of the priorities. And that's why you have Richard Trumka and Randy Weingarten fucking tweeting about, yeah, let's get that Mira Tandon in there. She is fucking awesome. And of course, our reaction is, what are you fucking kidding? She's a union buster.
Yes.
She's a fucking union buster.
She cuts her down
see it that way because they're ingratiated with the Democratic establishment. So they don't see it that way. When I went to that union conference in Atlantic City, and this was well before the election, but we knew Bernie was running, and the president of the union was like giving this speech about Joe Biden. What a compassionate man he is. He's just an awesome fellow, this and that. And I couldn't fucking take it. I said, what are you fucking kidding? A month ago, it came out that his very first fundraiser was at the private home of a Philadelphia union buster. What is wrong with you fucking people? And they didn't take well. But I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't. I said, do you know Bernie Sanders is a generational labor supporter? He's historically strong, and they fucking hate him. They hate him. It's just baffling to me.
Because he shows them that they compromise, like their excuse is always, oh, I had to compromise because of the Reagan era, and Bernie Sanders like basically did not compromise regarding.
He's also a threat to the structure and the management class in Washington. In other words, they have a whole ecosystem of people that come in and out of this. That if you want a job in Washington, you have to be in good graces with the union and vice versa. So Bernie Sanders, he wasn't going to come in and hurt unions by any stretch of imagination, but he was going to hurt the status quo status, the privilege and status of those who sit there in these jobs and work within this structure. You know what I mean? He was a threat to that, and even his fundraising, where it was outside of the normal fundraising apparatus, was a threat to their whole industry of people that work in fundraising. In other words, those people have a veterans interest. They don't want Bernie Sanders. He's a threat to their business model. So they just looked at me like I was fucking nuts. But I was right.
Yes, you were totally right.
I was right.
Well, okay. So, in the leftist circles, we call them AFL-CIA as a joke, for obvious reasons. Like right now, one thing that really irritates me is this actually goes to our second piece really well. Is the fight for $15 because it started in 2012. And $15 in 2012, 9 years ago, was a lot different than $15 today. And so they haven't changed. Like it should be. AFL-CIA, I mean, CIO, sorry. AFL-CIO is like tweeting about fight for 15 and how they support it. And it's like, no, you as a union should be educating people of how much they're actually worth. Go ahead.
I can give you some insight on that. I talked to a union organizer, great guy, another dedicated, genuine, sincere union guy. But his first reaction when $15 an hour came out, it wasn't about not caring about workers having a decent and living wage. But his thing was, as a union organizer, holy shit, if they pay $15 an hour, it's going to be harder for me to recruit people to the union, because obviously you want to get them in the union so they'll get higher wages. So in a weird way, the $15 an hour was a threat to the union recruitment model. And I get that, but much more, but in the long run, in the stronger sense, first of all, $15 an hour it is not much anyway. And again, just like if you get Medicare for all, you get workers $15 an hour, believe me, they still need unions, big time. So you have to be adaptable to changing circumstances. You have to embrace $15 an hour. You have to embrace Medicare for all. They're good for everybody. They're good for the public interest. They're good for people that are struggling. And you want to be seen as being pivotal to making that happen, not as a staid, obsolete model that we don't need anymore. You want to be on the forefront of that. Yeah, $15 an hour. Because believe me, they will still exploit the fuck out of us.
We were just like bitching about Randy Weingarten. But yeah, like
she's a perfect example of that. Well, first of all, she's a Clinton acolyte, but her loyalty went to embracing neoliberalism and Clintonism and being part of the in crowd long ago over her roots as fighting for workers. That's blatantly obvious, just absolutely a complete sellout.
Oh, completely. She's even into charter schools, like with Bloomberg and stuff, and that part with her, that was just
because she wants to be in the in crowd.
Yeah. Okay. So, are you ready for your mind to be blown? I just sent you our second piece.
Okay.
Okay, so everyone, this is what we're going to use the hashtag Lenin wage instead of minimum wage. And just this is what he wrote this piece on January 1st, 1914. And let's just read it. And then in the middle, we'll calculate what your Lenin wage is in two different formats.
Okay, you want me to get started?
Go ahead.
Okay.
The title, read the title first so that people understand what Lenin.
4,000 rubles a year and a 6-hour day. I'll take it. I don't need to read any more. Okay, I'm sorry. This is the battle cry of the class conscious American workers. They say we have only one political question before us, and that is the question of the workers' earnings and their working day. To Russian workers, it may at first sight seem very strange and puzzling to have all social and political questions reduced to a single one. But in the United States of America, the advanced country in the world, which has almost complete political liberty, where democratic institutions are most developed, and where tremendous progress has been made in labor productivity, it is quite natural that the question of socialism should come to the fore. Thanks to the existence of complete political liberty, thank you, it is possible in America, better than any other country, to calculate the total production of wealth and draw up a statistical report of production. That calculation, based on reliable data, shows that in America there are, in round numbers, 15 million working class families. Together, these working class families annually produce consumers' goods to the value of 60,000 million rubles. This works out at 4,000 rubles a year per working class family.
Okay, so let's do the same exact. Okay, so Lenin says 4,000 rubles per. Okay, so now let's do the same exact calculation. So the first one, what we're gonna do is just convert what Lenin put down to dollars. So in 1914, the exchange rate was 2 to 1. So 2 rubles was worth $1. So that means Lenin wanted $2,000 per year in 1914.
Okay.
Now, if we just account for inflation and nothing else, just what Lenin proposed, that means every single worker will get $52,095 per year. Now, let's assume that we are entitled to 2 weeks of vacation every year. That's a minimum. So when we divide $52,095 by 50, that comes down to $1,041.90 a week. And Lenin said he wants 6 hours a day to work, 6 hours a day. So 6 times 5 is 30. So we have a 30-hour work week. And that number is $34.73 per hour.
I'll take it. And you know what? That is not extravagant.
No.
That is good. That is something that you could have a reasonably stable, dignified existence in. You know, whereas we are now, everything is just desperation, man. Everything is, can I cover the rent? I hope the car doesn't break down. Fuck, I hope I don't get sick because of my copay. I hope the kids don't need something. That's our life under capitalism. It sucks. It's constant strain and pressure with this weight hovering just over your head, ready to drop until you fucking die. That's capitalism.
Exactly. And the thing is that okay, this is just the okay, so this is not even like accounting for productivity or production or anything like that. This is just converting his number for inflation. And it shows you that like we're like fight for 15 is actually like a low ball, because we should be getting a fight for $35, like double that amount.
Without a doubt.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
But
That's what makes this vote this past week such a fucking travesty and such a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. And all these people fucking slobbering over Joe Biden right now, fucking blowing Joe Biden because he's so compassionate and great. That motherfucker had 8. And I'm going to count Angus King as a Democrat. That motherfucker had 8 Democratic fucking millionaires go up to that fucking stand and vote no on minimum wage. Yeah.
Exactly.
And the liberals don't see that as an outrage. And the liberals are going to turn around and say, look at Joe, man. This guy's a deal maker. This guy's a consummate Washington insider. He can get things done. What they don't say is the things he gets done fucking suck.
Exactly.
They suck. The things he gets done benefit the ruling class. Just like Pelosi's so great. Oh, she's so savvy. She's a legislative mastermind. She's a bullshit. Her job is the easiest job in the world. look after the needs of rich people. How fucking hard is that?
No.
not a
I
hard
mean,
fucking
they
job,
even
is
write
it?
the legislation for her to just bring.
You'd be a single mother trying to fucking survive. That's hard. Being a fucking Speaker of the House, the multi-millionaire Speaker of the House, whose job is to look after the interests of rich people and fundraise for rich people. And that's why, by the way, they talk about how great she is. That's the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, the fucking corporate media, fawns over how great she is. What they don't say is they consider her great because she's a prodigious fundraiser. That's it. That's why she's great. Bomb, boom, bottom line.
Yeah.
Because to them, that is great. To most of us, to the rest of us, that sucks.
And the fundraising trickles down in that, like, everyone else, because it's from her, like, it's like these are literally hedge fund investors, and they would not give funds unless it's an investment. And so now all of Congress, it like trickles down to like poisoning all the other congressional representatives because of her big money. And so it's like poisons the whole well. And you're right. She's the only thing is that how well she fundraises, and that's a negative.
That's it. That's her stock and trade. That's why they love her. She gatekeeps for the capitalists. She gatekeeps for the ruling class, and she's a great fundraiser. That's it.
Okay.
That's it. And they say she's great. And if you dare suggest that she is not, you know what happens.
You're sexist or racist or whatever.
Mr. Misogynist, Mr. Sexist. You know how it goes.
Yes. Okay. So now are you ready for your mind to be blown? Okay, now let's say we use the same exact method that Lenin used. So we're going to take the total adult population in the US now, which is about 328.2 million people. And then we're going to look at all the total manufacturing assets we have in the US. So this is lowballing in that we are not counting all the other like service assets, or we're just lowballing with just like physical manufacturing assets. And that's about $296.6 trillion. And so if we were to divide the total assets, manufacturing assets, just the manufacturing assets, by the total adult population, do you know what our annual wages would be? It would be $901,889. So every one of us is entitled to $900,000 if we use Lenin's method.
Gotta do my spit take, sorry.
No, we wanted this because everything goes to Bezos right now, and it's not his money because he didn't make it. You did. And and they're lowballing you for $15 an
Come
hour.
on, man. There's room at the top if you just apply yourself. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. There's room at the top. I mean, but I just wanted. I'm going to put this up because $15 an hour. How much does without taxes? $15 an hour. How much is that per year?
Say that again.
Okay, $15 times. Okay. So it's about $30,000 a year.
I know I've read it recently.
Yeah, it's about $30,000 a year. Even that is lowballing compared to our Lenin wage, which is $900,000 a year per person. Like that should be our minimum. And they're cheating us. Like that's over. Jenna, is that over 90% or 91%? What percentages are they cheating us by?
Oh my God. So if they only want to give us 30,000, they don't even give us 30,000. But if they want to only give us 30,000, and we're supposed to get 900, wouldn't that be about?
Oh my God! It's not even 0.5%. It's like
yeah.
It's not even. Oh my God! It's not like it's like less than 0.5%. It's like, oh my God. Okay, so they're like basically trying to lowball you with like less than 0.5% of what you're worth. Jesus Christ. Okay, so go ahead, Paul. Let's now read about. Let's finish reading this piece.
Yeah, okay, I forgot I was reading.
So we're at present.
All right. But at present, under the capitalist social system, only half this vast amount of wealth only 30,000 millions goes to the workers, who constitute 9/10 of the population.
Okay, so
Yep.
hold on. Let's. I just updated this figures for modern. Now it is only 1% of the wealth goes to the workers, who now constitute 99 out of 100 population. So it's actually gotten worse since 1914. Go ahead.
The other half is pocketed by the capitalists, who, with all their apologists and hangers on, the resistance, we call them the resistance today, constitute only 1/10 of the population.
1% nowadays, but go ahead.
In America, well, there's the top 10% that does pretty well, though, too.
True.
But yeah, your point taken. You're the expert, not me.
No, go ahead.
In America, as in other countries, unemployment is rife and the cost of living is steadily rising. Want among American workers is becoming more and more distressful and intolerant. How long ago was this written?
1914, 100 years,
Yeah.
106 years ago.
I got a news flash. That hasn't changed.
Nope.
America's statistics show about half the workers are working part-time. Gig economy, anybody?
Yep.
And what an immense amount of social labor is still being wasted owing to the preservation of senseless, backward, and scattered small production, particularly in agriculture and in commerce.
Gig economy.
Gig economy. Thanks to complete political liberty and the absence of feudal landlords in America, arguable, machinery is employed there on a wider scale than anywhere else in the world. The aggregate amounts to 18 million steam, horsepower. 18 million steam horsepower. At the same time, an investigation of all power resources in the form of waterfalls showed, according to the report of March 14, 1912, that by converting the power of waterfalls into electricity, America could immediately obtain an additional 60 million horsepower. The Green New Deal.
Yeah. And,
Although you gotta,
and now we have solar
yeah,
too. You can add.
But I get it. Already a land of boundless wealth, it can at one stroke treble its wealth, treble the productivity of social labor, and thereby guarantee to all working class families a decent standard of living worthy of intelligent human beings, and a not excessively long working day of 6 hours.
Yeah. They've been able to do this for 100 years. And I think I don't like, we can probably like, at a stroke of a pen, we can definitely more than triple our wealth. Go ahead.
Okay. But owing to the capitalist social system we see in most of the big cities of America, and in the rural districts too, for that matter, appalling unemployment and poverty, a wanton waste of human labor, side by side with the unprecedented luxury of the multimillionaires, of the rich, whose fortunes run into the thousands of millions. The American working class is rapidly becoming enlightened. Okay. And is organizing in a powerful proletarian party. Sympathy for this party is growing among all the working people. Working with the aid of first-class machines and seeing at every turn marvels of engineering and the magnificent successes of labor resulting from the organization of large-scale production, the wage slaves of America are beginning clearly to realize what their tasks are and are advancing the plain, obvious, and immediate demands for an income of 4,000 rubles a year for every working class and a 6-hour working day. The aim of the American workers is quite attainable in any civilized country in the world, but to achieve it, the country must enjoy the fundamental conditions of freedom. And there is no road to a free future other than by the way of independent working class organization, educational, industrial, cooperative, and political.
I can't say it better than him, but yeah, I mean, we, like I said, if Lenin were here today, he's going to say that each of us deserves $900,000, almost $1 million, because that's how much we produce. And really, we don't need, like, how much food do, I mean, we waste of so much food. Apparently, like, we waste so much food because of capitalism that there's no reason why we need to have hungry kids, but we have hungry kids, right?
Well, for instance, and I'd like to think I would have thought of this by myself, but before I did, when they were touting the 50% reduction in poverty, Beth Beth Lynch on Twitter basically said, oh, why not make it 0%? Why are you stopping at 50? Why do you still have half the kids fucking starving and hungry? And that just and that to me is not some great insight. It's the next question you would ask. You'd be like, well, that's great. I'm good. We could cut the net amount of poverty to half. But that leaves a lot of fucking kids living in poverty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? We're supposed to tout that as some great and enlightened humanitarian move. But the first thing after you're like, yeah, poverty's been lowered, you start processing and say, wait a minute, that still leaves a whole lot of people living in desperation.
Yes.
So whatever formula you're using, whatever little trick you came up and threw in this bill to alleviate half of poverty, how about we just go the other half? Why not?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always like ridiculous because,
What
like,
do liberals say?
I don't know.
Furious. Come on now, incrementalism.
Yeah, incrementalism never works.
You know why they hated Trump, don't you?
No.
This is a rhetorical question. They hated Trump for the same reason they hated Bernie. He was too coarse, too unrefined, not sophisticated enough. He wasn't Cary fucking Grant in a tuxedo at the White House fucking dinner,
like he would say,
being an example of this fairy tale against Smugness president. That's what they hated. Yeah, they said they hated the fucking the cages that were Obama put up, and they said they hated all this other shit. But they've proven with Cuomo, the latest example, they don't give a fuck about Me Too. They don't give a fuck about women being put in their place and sexual harassment. They don't fucking care. So that's out the window. So the only thing they don't like is that he was too much of a kind of a rube for them. Too much of a.
Well, I don't know. Do you remember?
I hate Trump. I hate Trump.
I know, but remember when
reason.
Trump said something like, "We're invading Venezuela for its oil" or something?
Yeah.
And like that part was what bothered them because they wanted him to be quiet about what like
right.
Like they're like,
I'm telling you. I mean, that's another insight. It's the reason they hate Bernie is because he's a non-starter for them because he's too Jewish, he's too ethnic, he's too unrefined and too unpolished. That's why they fucking hate him.
Yeah. Well, also he won't invade Venezuela for its oil.
I'm talking about your run-of-the-mill liberal, not your scheming, conniving, liberals in the fucking power structure.
No.
I'm talking about your run-of-the-mill resistance people. Yes. They hate him because he's not their ideal of what a president should be.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
And they never figured out that what he should be and what they all should be are public servants looking out for the general welfare, looking out for the public good, not their fucking heroes. It's not a fan club. It's not a cult. It's not you're not a booster club. It's not about that. But that's how they view it.
Yeah.
Because your life is comfortable.
Oh yeah, exactly. Their life is comfortable, so they love they want as little change as possible to status quo.
Yes.
And what I notice is that, like I said, with Trump, I mean, obviously, like the only thing is that he was uncouth about his bombings, and he was he would sometimes let the cat out of the bag, and the liberals hated that. The only thing is like they wanted somebody to pretend that they're bombing for freedom as opposed to the oil. Which
right. And he was too blunt. He was too blunt, too undisciplined. But again, with the way he talks, he might have gone to fucking Harvard or Columbia and Penn. I forget where he went.
UPenn.
But goddamn right well, he didn't do any fucking studying. But also, when he talks, he has a limited vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that articulate, and he's just not. He's just as Mimi Roca said, he makes their skin crawl. Not because he's a despicable human being with horrible values who's done horrible things. He makes their skin crawl because they think he's beneath them.
Yes. And that's exactly it. I mean, like you can see, they don't even care about like what has Biden changed from Trump? Nothing. We're bombing the same countries. We're invading the same people. We're still doing sanctioning. Everything's the same. It's just that he's gonna pretend it's for freedom as opposed to for oil.
I tell these people, and I've had these are family members, and they're good people, my family members. I mean, they're nice people. They're not MAGA people, but they're Joe and Hillary people, and all that bullshit. But what I tell them, and I tell a lot of people is, look, this is not difficult. The reason I don't like Trump is I know who he is. I can evaluate the way he's conducted himself in his life. I can see what he's done. I can see what his priorities are. And I can write him off as a malevolent presence, a guy that's going to look after himself first, who's going to look at the benefit, his business interest, his personal interest, and serving the public interest has nothing to do with what Donald Trump ran for president for. I said, but I know I'm no genius here, but I'm going to look at how the guy has behaved in the past, and I'm going to have expectations of how he'll behave in the future. Same fucking criteria I use for Joe Biden. Now let's look at Joe Biden. The crime bill, the bankruptcy bill, the busing bill, the vote for the Iraq war, the draping a fucking medal around George Bush's fucking neck. The saying after Iraq war was a humanitarian and political disaster, saying, I'd fucking vote for it again. I'm going to vote for him based on how he's conducted himself, on his record. And when you say that to liberals, they look at you like you're fucking nuts, like you're insane. They just want to hear about class and dignity. And boy, that Joe is just, look at him. And look at his wife. She's so nice. You want to have mind blown? My fucking head's explode.
Yeah.
Because these are supposedly smart, educated people, much smarter and much more educated than I am. And they just fucking don't see this shit. It doesn't take great intellect to see this.
But they don't want to see it, and that's why they
don't want to see it, and they don't have to see it because life's good for them.
That's what I noticed a lot of times in like Upper East Side. For example, the worst excuse I've ever seen is that like, oh, we have to deal with Joe Manchin because he wants to bomb Syria. Like, who the fuck in West Virginia will really care? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, those are not what you need to compromise with. If like there are some, like, it's just like they don't even connect those two things. Like, if there are religious people in West Virginia, like 0 of them will want to bomb Syria. Like, it's just.
Well, good.
And so it's like, they're not even like, there's no logic or no system to think. And I don't know if it's the education system or if it's comfort or what it is, but I see that like there's no connection between the way the liberals think and what the reason, like they just accept excuses after excuses.
Well, here's another thing. So you have, again, let's go back to Joe Biden, his experience, the steady hand. He can get deals done. You know, he's got all this Washington savvy. And we need that steady hand at the tiller and all this horse shit. And we got to go let Joe, because Joe apparently is gonna be able to work with Republicans. Well, we see that he got 0 Republican votes. We see that not only did he get 0 Republican votes, he had 8 Democrats cross over the line on something he ran on, something that was supposedly a priority. Now, is Joe not the great deal maker and the great savvy lawmaker? I would say, yeah, he's not that. But I'd say more importantly, Joe doesn't want $15 an hour.
No.
And he didn't lift a fucking finger to get it done. That's what anybody with even the most modest amount of rational thinking ability would come up with. It doesn't take a great intellect to figure that out. He didn't want it. But the liberals, what are they going to say? That cinema, that Joe Manchin, without saying, wait a minute. You have the consummate arm twister, the greatest persuader since LBJ sitting in the White House. And he couldn't get these people to fucking vote for he wanted. He couldn't go to those people and say, look, $15 an hour is really important to me. I want it. What can I do for you to get that?
Yeah.
No. Right away, the fucking sycophant fucking pushovers right away. Instead of standing up to Joe saying, Joe, what the fuck, man? We support you, but we want you to get something done about this. No. They fucking sit there and they fucking bend over and they take it. And they blame Joe Manchin.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, what's the point of having a party if you can't enforce a party line?
Thank you. It's like Lieberman. Remember Lieberman in the public option?
Not quite. But go
Okay, I'll refresh your memory. So the ACA was coming on, and what we now know in retrospect, what the Democrats did, I was like, yeah, those Republicans, we're making this more palatable to them, and they still won't support it. What I didn't realize was they knew they weren't getting Republican votes. They fucking knew it. But what they did was they pretended they were watering it down to try to get bipartisan support. Hey, we're making it so the Republicans will support it. We want this to go through. They knew they weren't getting those votes. They watered it down for their insurance company lobby donors. That's what they fucking did. They negotiated against themselves to benefit the insurance company lobby. But the Obamacare, the public option was a big thing. By the way, the public option is not the answer. But for sake of argument, the public option was a good thing. And let's throw that in Obamacare.
the public option is where you buy in. Let me just refresh people. The public option is even if you're not eligible for Medicare, let's
buy
say
into
you
it.
can
Something
buy
like
it.
that.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
Something roughly like that. Okay. So that was probably an important aspect of it. They did the same thing they did with the parliamentarian. They didn't really want the public option. Obama didn't want it. He didn't fight for it. So what they said was Joe Lieberman was supposedly against it. They said, well, Joe Lieberman won't have it. Joe Lieberman doesn't want the public option, so we can't have it. Let's move on. And it's the same thing they did with the parliamentarian. Well, they won't let us have it. Gee, that really sucks. I really wanted that public option or whatever the fuck, $15 an hour. They used the same thing. A couple of years later, I'm reading something I'm doing research on the public option and what exactly happened. And Joe Lieberman, and I have no reason to think he's lying. Joe Lieberman said, dude, Barack Obama never once, not once, came to me and said, Joe, I want that public option, man. Give me your support. Not once. Didn't fight for it, nothing. But if you go to resistance, shit lib, liberal democratic circles to this day, they will tell you with supreme confidence that mean old Joe Lieberman was responsible for the public option falling apart and not being included. And how dare you blame Barack Obama, the guy with 59 fucking senators and the overwhelming majority in the House of Representatives? How dare you blame him for not getting that public option? And they won't even, and you know how they are. If you push a little too far and say, bullshit, Obama didn't fight for that.
No.
Oh, Mr. White Privilege. Oh, what are you, racist? Why are you attacking them? They're just so shallow and so pedestrian and so predictable. They do it all the time. And the problem is it fucking works. So they keep doing it.
Oh, yeah. Kristen Sinema, for example, at first, like her PR lady last week was like, oh, it's sexist. And it's like, fuck off. We don't get, I mean, right now, like, it doesn't affect me because liberals, like, they seem to use genocide denier, sexist, racist, like it's like they literally call you the worst smears. It's like, and it just like bounces off of me because I don't care. And it's like, okay, what a question.
Is she taking more heat because she's a woman? She's somewhat attractive. You know what? You can argue that point, but the fact of the matter is, because she should have known better. She should have been more aware. She went to Mitch McConnell and basically said, hey, Mitch, watch me. And then walked over to the table and made an exaggerated thumbs down gesture. And then she strutted away. She walked away like the fucking Queen fucking Sheba. So I don't want to fucking hear it. She voted against something that was a priority of hers, that was important to millions of fucking women.
Yeah.
In particular, that was something that was going to bring relief to a battered fucking working class, and she voted with it. She voted it down gleefully. She spiked the football as she was voted. So I don't want to fucking hear it. Bullshit.
No, I don't either. Exactly. And so it's like they have like 3 things, and you can just like call them out on it. In that they'll okay. So first of all, like the first thing they do is like confuse women with Kristen Sinema, and it's like, no, she's not acting as a representative of the class of women. So fuck that. And then like the second one is the like they're just like they somehow like, I was really laughing that they in South Carolina, like they somehow confused people who voted in South Carolina with black people, and it's like, come on, don't you see the demographics? I mean, white people make up the majority of like every state, and just don't be. But then like they try to imply second degree, and it's like, come on, those are the only 2 things that they have right now. And go ahead.
I need to make this point for escape. This is how bad they are at this. This is how committed they are to how baked in, just reflexively baked into their thinking. What do my donors want? Kamala Harris had a chance to orchestrate a massive political statement. She could have, we heard about the parliamentarian. She wants to be president in 2024. She wants, if she had any savvy at all, she would have set it up so that she is the fucking hero, the white fucking knight who comes in, strikes down the fucking parliamentarian, gives the fucking vote that gets it over the hump, and going forward, she can say, I got you $15 an hour. I fought for you. Right?
Yeah.
Right or wrong?
Completely.
What did they do? She did nothing because she doesn't believe in a fucking thing. They don't want $15 an hour. And what's the response from K-High? Was it, hey, Kamala, come on, man, get in there. Show your fucking power. Slay him, girl, whatever the fuck she is. No. When we said, hey, Kamala, you need to do this. You have the power to do this. You said you wanted to do this. This is your moment. Step up and get it done. What did they do? Oh, why are you attacking the black woman? Why are you so sexist and racist? They're just, and I just want to fucking lose my fucking mind.
Yeah.
But that's how they think. It would have not only been something that was really good for struggling people and something that they desperately need and something that's long overdue. She could have made this bold political statement that would have cemented her fucking run for president. And they didn't. Committed to the little model they found where they can be a little less bad than the Republicans, take care of their fucking donors, and they can still keep their seats. They won't make anything happen for the working people and for the broad population, but they know that they have a little niche carved out where they personally will flourish and do fine. And that's the limit of their fucking imagination and their concerns.
Oh yeah, basically they don't even try, and then there's something like unrealistic, and you don't know how things work. And I'm like, no, I know how things work. And if like a senator wants to, he can like. She's a vice president. She can literally do anything she wants. I mean, there's like it's like she has so much power, but it's not like Joe Biden's going to stop her from doing anything. He doesn't even have the faculties. So it's really that she's just a puppet for the big donors, and that's it.
She wants to be a puppet. She believes philosophically and spiritually and emotionally with that thinking, with that group of people. That's her people. So it never dawned on her she is ambitious, don't get me wrong, but she doesn't have a burning desire to make it be a difference maker for an abandoned and disenfranchised electorate. She has a desire to matriculate upwards in the system. That's it. Like Pete Buttigieg, don't give a fuck. Pete Buttigieg doesn't have a burning desire for justice for anybody and for economic, and the economic violence and neoliberalism. Pete Buttigieg wants to matriculate and be president in the system we have. He doesn't want to fundamentally change the living and working conditions of the people. No interest whatsoever, none. So what did he do? Instead of grinding it out from the bottom up, that jerk off went right to the top. right to the fucking Stop Bernie meetings to ingratiate himself with the ruling class, the big money donors, to get his ticket into the club.
Yeah. And now he's and as a transportation secretary, if he wanted, we can have like high-speed rails like they have in China.
They ain't gonna do that shit.
But we're not getting that. We're not even getting better highways.
Anyway,
but thank you so much, Paul.
I'm running out of gas. That's
no,
it.
no. Well,
I'm running out of steam.
No, I'm so glad because you brought we love your passion and we want to have you back again in a few weeks. And can you also give us the contact of the person you recommended?
You know what? You should have him on. He's a great guy.
We'd
He's
love it.
articulate. He's a scrappy working guy, and he is a dogmatic fighter for workers' rights. I mean,
Okay.
I really one of my heroes in that respect, and I mean that. I admire him greatly.
Can you
And
send us his
he'll walk,
contact?
this guy will walk into the plant manager's office and me where I'm passionate and bombastic and all that bullshit, but sometimes with the confrontation, I'm not the strongest. This guy, he'll go right up to the boss and tell them, you can't do this to the workers. No, we're not having this. I really admire that. But yeah, I'll get you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Paul. This has been so fun. And
Can I go home now? Can I go now?
Absolutely. Have fun. And thank you again. And we definitely need to have you back on more often. You need to do more shows.
Thank you for thinking of me. Have a nice day, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. I just popped by to make sure if anyone has any questions or comments during the stream. So anyone with questions or comments? Earlier today, somebody asked me, okay, Neil Sanger says that guy was based. Yeah, Paul was awesome, and we'd love to have more people like Paul on, and we need your recommendation. So if you have somebody who's not very political aware, or a friend or a relative, we'd love to have them on, and who knows, we might be able to save your Thanksgiving. Imagine your awkward uncle, instead of spewing out racist crap, he spews out Lenin. So definitely tweet at Lenin Tweets for suggestions. Somebody asked me in the comments earlier if Lenin talked about the culture wars or anything like that, and I think he did, because a lot of so he talks about the nationality question and the education question, which often is about basically a lot of the culture wars, like how you educate people, like what language, does it even matter? And so Lenin does kind of respond, and usually his method is the same. Go line by line and break down their thinking and explain why they're wrong. But if we don't have any more questions or comments, let's just make sure we got all of them. Race Yaf says, Lenin wrote a lot about capitalist democracy 100 years ago. It's hegemonic and it destroys class consciousness in the service of capitalism. Absolutely. He's right. Yeah, I mean, and then is this channel being monitored? I don't know. And that's Riker Bone, and I'm guessing maybe yes. I don't know. It's a public channel, and so if there is nothing else, please be sure to subscribe to our Substack. We have VI Lenin at substack.com, and we'll be back next week with more amazing Lenin. And hopefully please share this with your friends and get them to watch And be sure to share it in chat comments or whatever with the Reddit groups, Facebook groups, whatever else you do.